I'm at peace. So I did a video on Mr. Chris Paul, and I stated that this up-and-coming season was going to be a crossroads season for him. It was going to be a make-or-break season for him. And he's not going to be the only player who's going to have a make-or-break season coming up for them. That's why I believe that the 2018-2019 season for the NBA may be the best season that it's had in well over 30 years. Because many of their more prominent players are in contract years, and they're going to need to shine, to show out, and to win a championship, if for no other reason than to boost their marketability and hopefully assist them in landing in another spot that may be even better for them. I say all that because Mr. Kyrie Irving has recently declared that he wants to win a championship. And I believe that the reason why he stated that he wants to win a championship with the Boston Celtics, let me be particular, is because this may be his last season with them. So, of course, they're going to talk about it, and I'm going to chime in.
Kyrie Irving's first season with the Celtics did not go as planned, missing Boston's deep run in the playoffs after having season-ending knee surgery. Entering the final guaranteed year of his contract, he has set his sights on raising banner number 18 for Boston, not in his long-term future with the team, telling the Undefeated when asked about that very topic, quote, "What I really want is to bring our team, all of us together, to a championship with us all being healthy. That's where my focus is. And when that time comes, I'll be ready to answer."
Now, let's see what Mr. Kyrie Irving is saying here. He said, what I really want is to bring our team, all of us together, to a championship with us all being healthy. What he's stating is that he wants to have his entire roster available to play so that they can win it all. That's what he's saying. He's not saying, I just want us to get there. He's saying, I want us to all be healthy so that we can show out and really prove what we're capable of. Now, just pay very close attention to where Max Kellerman tries to take Kyrie Irving's statements, just to show you that he's having an issue with his reading or listening comprehension.
Stephen A. Smith, what is Kyrie really saying here?
Well, let me say this before Stephen A. speaks. I think that Kyrie Irving is saying that this season is going to be huge for himself and for his team, the Boston Celtics. Of course, he wants to stay in the moment, but he says he wants to win a championship with the Celtics. That means that any season after this season is not promised. He may not even re-sign with the Celtics after this season. It would not shock me at all. So I believe that's why he is limiting his championship outlook to just one championship. And plus, Kyrie is smart enough to know that you have to take it 1 year at a time.
Well, what he's certainly not saying is not.
Well, the question is not what he's not saying, Stephen A. Smith.
Not one, Max, not two, not three, not four, not 5 or 6 or 7. He's certainly not saying that like LeBron James did when he arrived in South Beach for the first time in that huge shindig that him, D-Wade, and Chris Bosh had.
And just by LeBron stating that they were going to win not 1, not 2, not 3, trying to get up to 7 or 8 championships, what was LeBron trying to imply? What he was implying was that at the time that he signed with the Miami Heat, there was no plan for him to just be there for 4 years. He originally planned on ending his career with the Miami Heat. But after he saw that some of his more prominent teammates were starting to expire, they were starting to deteriorate, and after he realized that Pat Riley was not going to allow him to run roughshod over the franchise, he said to himself, you know what, let me kill 2 birds with 1 stone. Let me go back to Cleveland. I have my 2 championships already, and I can repair some of the damage that I've done with the people from my home state.
In Miami, he's certainly not saying that. But what I do think, I don't take any offense to what he's saying. It's Kyrie. Kyrie basically is telling the world, if we were healthy, we'd at least be the Eastern Conference champions right now.
Well, really what Kyrie Irving is saying is that hopefully if we're healthy this up-and-coming season, we're going to go to the championship and win it. That's what he's concerned about. He's not concerned about the past.
And I don't think anybody is in a position to disagree with him. When he first departed from Cleveland, we thought they were going to be at least a year away. We said, no, they don't have enough for LeBron and the Cavs. They'll take them out this year, and then Boston will probably be there next year. And as the season progressed, we're like, wait a minute now. These brothers.
Well, really, as the season progressed, many of LeBron James's more ardent supporters sprinkled throughout the liberal sports media were constantly trying to down the Boston Celtics. They were claiming that they were a regular season team, that they were not going to be able to play that level of defense for the entire season. that their offense was at best pedestrian, even with Kyrie Irving. And they were pretty much surprised with how effective Boston was in the playoffs. And to be quite frank with you, so was I. But it was after Kyrie went down. Had Kyrie been healthy, I would have picked them to go to the finals. Well, I can't say that. I would have said that it would have been a pick-em series between themselves and Cleveland, because I was always going to pick Cleveland with LeBron James out of respect for what he's done over the course of his time period in the Eastern Conference in the last 8 years. But had Boston had Kyrie Irving, I have little doubt that they would have made the championship round. But that's for me to say. Kyrie is not saying that with this statement, with this declaration. Really what he's saying is that he's anticipating the team having better fortunes with their health next season, and that he expects them to win it all.
These brothers are on another level. This is no joke. These brothers ain't playing. They could do this now, and then Kyrie went down. And so I think when you look at it from that perspective, what he's saying is, had I been healthy, I believe we would have been in the finals this year.
Now, if you pay very close attention, Kyrie has a necklace on, and the charm on his necklace is of the Hamza hand, that same tattoo that he has on his shoulder, which is supposedly to quote-unquote ward off evil spirits.
And my goal is, after watching these brothers, we got the potential to win it all. So my focus is on getting healthy to show that I could lead this team to a championship. And I think that's where the focus is, Max.
Look, first of all, he didn't say not 2, not 3, not 4. I love that you bring that up, Stephen A. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? I mean, when LeBron...
Well, if you're the Boston Celtics and you're paying very close attention, there are a myriad of ways that you can read that. If I'm Danny Ainge, I'm reading that statement as Kyrie letting him know that any season after this season is not promised because I am considering other options. If you're Danny Ainge, that is how you have to look at a statement like that. And you do have to parse people's words, especially when they're assets for your company, for your corporation. You have to pay very close attention to what the assets that represent your organization are saying, because oftentimes it's going to be an indicator of how long their future is going to be working alongside you or working under you.
LeBron said not 2, not 3, not 4. In retrospect, it looked silly because it was harder than it looked, and he got 2.
That's right.
And he was lucky to get 2.
Thank you, sir. Finally, you spoke the truth in regards to your boo thing, LeBron James. He was lucky to win 2 championships with the Miami Heat, because it really should have just been 1. There's no way in the world that man should have won that 2013 finals, but he was very fortunate. Ray Allen saved his ass.
He could have just wound up with 1. So
that's right.
You know, that second championship in Miami. So is that good for Kyrie, or can you flip that around, Stephen A., and say, Kyrie, when people are asking you about your future, you're talking about leading them to a championship, right? You didn't even say to win the championship.
Max Kellerman, you know what he meant when he said leading his team to a championship. He meant winning the whole damn thing. He didn't mean getting to the championship round. Knock it off.
The way he phrased it made it sound like as long as he gets to the finals.
No, that's not how he phrased it. That's not what he implied. That's what you inferred because you like to nitpick Kyrie due to the fact that you're upset about his flat earth theorizing. It is what it is. At the end of the day, when a professional athlete states that they want to lead their team to the championship, we know what that means. That means winning the whole shebang. It doesn't mean getting there, unless you're LeBron James. Then again, he could be talking about just getting there because you guys in the liberal sports media, as well as his sycophant fans, like to give him half credit for getting there.
So getting to 1 finals is now the goal? Even if you want to say that Kyrie is taking the right kind of take it one day at a time approach. Don't get too out in front of your skis, as LeBron did, saying not 2, not 3, not 4. Even if that's what you're saying, then I believe that Kyrie is actually saying that, to try to be responsible. By the way, it's really in that guise. But in fact, what he's saying is, I'm not staying in Boston. You know, when he refuses to address his long-term future as a Celtic, but instead diverts attention. It's kind of like misdirection. No, well, this is what I'm focused on now. Leading this team to a single championship round.
Max Kellerman, you might finally be onto something. What you're saying now makes a lot more sense than what you were saying a couple of minutes ago about Kyrie only being concerned with getting to the championship round. No, he wants to win the championship. But what he is saying is that after next season, it is open-ended what his future is going to be. Because he's not someone who's just sitting back saying to himself, well, in my mind, my number one option is playing for the Boston Celtics. I think that he knows that things can change very quickly. The tides can shift, and he wants to keep his options open. Please remember that the Boston Celtics were not one of the teams on his list of teams that he wanted to be traded to. So you never know what can happen. And as I've been stating, I did a video about this a couple of months ago where Kyrie sat down with Rachel Nichols, and I was just reading a lot of his facial expressions, the way that he was projecting certain energies, the way that he was conveying what his sentiments were. I thought that he was very unsure of where he was in Boston. I felt like he did not feel that he quite fit in with that squad. But we'll see what happens this year.
Is that it? Now, that may be realistic. Maybe I'm reading too much into his phrasing and he meant to win a championship.
Yes, you are reading a little bit too much into that component, but the second part of your theory I'm buying into because I put it forth 2 months ago.
But to me, Stephen A., it seems as though Kyrie does not have his focus on longer horizons with the Celtics. It sounds to me like he ain't planning on being there long term.
Well, I think that he's planning on making sure that he keeps his mind focused on the understanding that there is no loyalty in professional sports. So it would not be intelligent for him, knowing that this is a free agency season, to project that he's going to be there with them long term. Why even put that out there? There's a clip that sometimes will pop up around YouTube or the internet where it will show Kyrie Irving. I believe he was at a basketball camp for kids when he first got to Cleveland. And some kid asked him if he's going to leave the Cavaliers like LeBron James did, and he says no. As we know, he ended up leaving the Cleveland Cavaliers. You never make promises that you're not sure whether or not you're going to be able to keep. I think that he learned from that situation. He knows much more now that professional sports is a business, and tomorrow's not promised. As I'm making this video, tonight is the NBA draft. They could package Kyrie in a trade during the draft. Who the hell knows?
Well, listen, you know what? Whether he stays long-term or not, Max, I mean, here's the thing. To me, it's all about next year. Because to me, I think the value of Kyrie Irving will be determined. He's got to come back and he's got to show that he can get through a season healthy enough and that he's good and worth making that long-term investment in. It's not just about his game. It's about how healthy he appears to be and how he performs when healthy. And we all know how we believe he's going to perform when healthy. If Boston, for example, ends up in the finals next year, Max Kellerman, and Kyrie is balling out, and he's a league MVP candidate, or at least an all-star yet again because he's dropping 24 and 5 a game, all right, and he's healthy, Kyrie Irving is going to be the elite free agent on the market next season, unless Kevin Durant decides to show up there.
Well, he's certainly going to be up there with many of the other elite free agents. I believe that Klay Thompson, Draymond Green, as Stephen A. has already stated, Kevin Durant may be a free agent after next season. I believe he most likely will be because I think he's going to sign a one-year contract with Golden State. So we'll see.
That's the facts. So I'm looking at it from that perspective, and I have no problem taking 1 year at a time for him, considering that that's the premise.
But check this out, Stephen A. He's now going to be entering his age 26 season, right? And
yeah.
And how often has he played even 80 games in a season? He's usually in the 50s
how many have done that, though?
60s
How many have
or
done that,
low
though, Max?
70s.
But most guys are doing that in this day and age. Well, wait a minute, Max. You know a lot of guys. You know this. There's a lot of guys that's taking. There's a lot of guys, Max, that are healthy and still taking time off. DeMarcus Cousins was taking, not this past year, but remember when he was in Sacramento and he got rest the latter part of the season. Wasn't that wrong with him? And they weren't going to the playoffs. And he still took a break.
And there is a narrative about Kyrie that he's oftentimes injured. He has suffered from consistent maladies, especially in his knee. But people don't talk about John Wall missing a large portion of seasons, which he often does, and he's not the player that Kyrie Irving is.
But in Kyrie's case, it's injury. It's not just taking a rest. It's that he's hurt frequently. And in this, and that would be one thing. You know, Stephen A., how I said earlier in the show, if it's just kind of a general sense that a guy's injury prone, he pulls a hamstring, then something else happens, and it just feels like it's a lot of injury going on, that's one thing. But if it's a specific injury to a critical component of a guy's game, like in Kyrie Irving's case, giving his stopping, starting, changing directions, acceleration, his knee.
That's why I compared Kyrie Irving to a very explosive running back in the NFL who does a lot of stopping and starting. We've already seen a more extreme version of that in Derrick Rose, who was basically like the Barry Sanders of the NBA for a very, very short space. Kyrie Irving plays in a style very similar to that, except he's not as explosive vertically, and he's a little bit more in control with his dribble and with many of his moves. But a lot of his jump cuts are so explosive in the way that he executes them. You do have to be concerned about some long-term issues with his joints, especially pertaining to his knees and his ankles in the near future.
That is real cause for concern, because now you have a guy who frequently is out of the lineup due to injury.
What I will say about Kyrie is that when you watch his game, you can see how his game can mature. Derrick Rose's game was never going to mature away from athleticism because he couldn't count on a consistent jump shot. Kyrie Irving can.
And now just suffered a catastrophic issue, whether we'll see if it turns out to be a potentially career-altering catastrophic injury. That's a whole other ball game. So I think there's real cause for concern there.
All right.
Yeah, obviously he knows it's a huge summer for him, for all of them next year, and could determine if he's there long term. Coming up.
But anyway, that's pretty much it on that. We'll see what the future holds for Mr. Kyrie Irving and the Boston Celtics. Peace.